You didn't run. Look, you didn't run away yet. Okay. Can everybody see? Can you see everybody? They can see both of you.
Yes.
Awesome sauce. Hello, everyone. I am Tony Lorraine. I'd like to welcome you tonight to Mind of a Man. I am so excited because I have three awesome men in their own right. I'm going to start out with my first introduction. He is a chef. A chef. Man, who doesn't want a chef as a friend, man? So he's worked at many different places here in Philadelphia, and he's even worked at the prestigious Union League here in Philadelphia. His name is Stephen J. Parr. So I'd like you guys to welcome Stephen. And next, I am so excited about this, man, because you know what? If you don't have an IT person as your friend, I don't know what you're doing, man. Like he's just awesome. He builds networks. Think about it. Everything that we do nowadays, it has to be connected to a network. So you better get yourself a friend. And his name is Reuben Tiger Wesley. Welcome to the show, Reuben. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. Yes, and then last but not least, my friend, man, my friend, do you see this YouTube? And it's Tayo Roxon. Use your difference to make a difference. He is a four-time TEDx speaker, and he is a world traveler. And you know what? I'm just so honored for him to be here as well. So welcome, guys. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Um, Thank you. So, you know what? I really wanted to start, this podcast is really about men just saying what's on your mind, talking about it, because I think that in today's society that men aren't able to really speak what's on their mind. And I think that we need to be able to hear those conversations to build healthy dialogue. So I wanted to start this podcast off with really talking about, mediating masculinity. In the wake of Kobe Bryant's death, I think that we were all touched in some way, shape, or form. And I think I have five sons myself. And when I saw King LeBron James break down, I broke down immediately. And, one of my sons, who was an avid basketball player, he's still having a tough time. And it made me just think about that. And so I really want to get your opinion on, how do we, define masculinity nowadays? Just jump in, anyone. I really want to know.
Well, go ahead, Taya.
No worries. Hmm. Hmm. True. True. True.
No, I agree with you too. How old are you, if you don't mind me asking?
Or age range.
So me and you are the same age. So how do you identify as like I found, or like hearing you say that, it made me realize like okay, we have like a cross generational thing where I feel like our generation is the first generation to explore the constructs of what masculinity even is, because our fathers were taught like this honestly slave ideal of what masculinity should be,
Hmm.
and it starts to crumble at some point. And I think we as people have taken a step back, at least on my generation, or people who have taken the time to reflect on what they want to build towards the future and moving forward.
Okay.
And you start to redefine the things that your father did, as you should as a man. But I find that with prison industrial pipeline and things that take away black men from black families and just men from families in general, you start to notice the different ideals and beliefs that are what a man is. I come from a structure where I had a father and I had a grandfather who is a legend of a man in the city. So I've always had to hold myself to an absolute standard of greatness. And to me, like even what I read as a child and the things that I would consume was all about being a great man. Great men do this. Great men do this. Great men do this. And I think that being instilled in me early allowed me to feel comfortable when the masculinity wars were upon us at one point. As you know, Teo, like there was a point where if you didn't fit the stat of like I'm gonna be the hardest, I'm going to be the most dominant, I'm going to be the most alpha of alphas, it wasn't even accepted. I'm from Philly, so I went to public school, which is prison. So it's all about it's kill or be killed. To be honest, like
it's more like to jump on something Tyle mentioned earlier. I'm 53, so there's definitely a generation in between, yourself and Tayo. It's I would call it a stigmatism, not a stigmatism. I'm sorry. We were stigmatized as kids.
Okay.
Men don't cry. Men are supposed to be, like Tayo said, the strong, silent type, emotionless, cold and stoic. But what that does, in my opinion, or what I've seen it do to men that I know now who are my age, and even myself to a degree, you kind of shut down emotionally because we were always taught, or it was beaten into you that you don't show emotion. You walk around, like you said, the hardest one, the toughest one. A Lothario getting all the women, and in the meantime you kind of lose yourself because you're becoming something that you were kind of forced or told to be, and you lose yourself in that. And what I mean by how it has affected men today that are my age, a lot of guys are just emotionally unavailable, and it affects relationships. It affects relationships with a potential partner or your children. So today you kind of got to break that cycle of, like you said, what is it to be a man?
Right.
We're allowed to show our emotions. We're allowed to be human, if you will.
Right. I think that is interesting. You say, so I'm seeing the difference in age range, but the answer is still the same. We have to redefine it, and it's really important that I think you said something, Ruben, about we're emotionally unavailable. I want to kind of dive deeper in that because that is, I think, I can only speak for myself. I can't speak for any other woman but myself. And, and I tell people freely, I am a divorced mother, and I find that in that was one of the things, the emotionally being emotionally unavailable was an issue. So how do you fix that? How do you fix that? That's my question.
I mean, that's an internal thing. Like each man has to come to that conclusion in and of himself. It's like, is this who you want to be, or is there something better for you to achieve?
Right.
And I think that's inherent in every man. At some point, every 3, 2, even 1 year, like I like to ask myself, who do you want to be?
Right.
What do you want to be? Take a look at the last 32 years. How could you be better? What could you have done better? What could you be doing better? Because at some point, I know what I want 40 to look like.
Right. So, okay, so let's think of it like this. So if we just said, Tayo, I want to make sure you're in agreement. If we just said there has to be a paradigm shift. So what advice could we give, young men or men just in general to help make that paradigm shift? Because I know that there's men out there that may agree or disagree, and I definitely want them to make sure they're, chime in live on Instagram Live or Mind of a Man 2020 at Gmail. Drop me an email. But I also, what advice could we give men What do you think?
I think today, and it's only through um, trial and error for me personally, and
Mm-hmm.
learning hard lessons. Um, you know, failing in a marriage because I was emotionally unavailable.
Okay.
Um, you know, doing my best to be a father. Um, seeing how it affects the relationship with your children.
Right.
When you're emotionally unavailable, you have to see that in yourself, and like you said, you have to decide: am I going to live the rest of my life like this, or am I going to try to be a better person
Mm-hmm.
and live a better life? So, with that being said, what I would tell young men today,
Mm-hmm.
you just have to live life the way. Just take your parents or your mother or your father or whatever. How would my parents, or what would they think of me if I lived this way, running the streets, you know, breaking the law, doing things like that, or you know, being in school, being a good student, um, living the best life I can live.
Mm-hmm.
To me, that's what's called being a man.
Okay.
You're responsible.
Mm-hmm.
You own it. You own your actions.
Okay.
You accept the consequences, and you keep pushing forward, not laying down and falling down and saying, "Oh, the man is keeping me down," or "I can't because of this."
Okay.
The second you say you can't, you won't. So you accept life as it comes to you. You challenge yourself every day.
Mm-hmm.
You get out of your comfort zone, and you do the best you can every single day.
That sounds like your book, Tayo.
And I didn't even read it.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Mm. Mm-hmm. Well, you know what? It's interesting that I'm sitting here with three men, basically, who grew up with their father, and so like this is like so-called unheard of because society says, go ahead, Ruben, I see
I'll
it.
correct you there. My father was not in the picture, but
Okay.
I had my grandfather
Okay.
for most of my teenage years,
Mm-hmm.
And then after he passed away, I did have an uncle until I was probably 21, 22.
Mm-hmm.
My grandfather was the example.
Okay.
He was the example. So
Mm-hmm.
in that vein, you can say, yes, I did grow up with a quote unquote father, but he was the man that, I looked to as a father figure, and he worked hard, and he was a good, upstanding family man. So there you go.
True, true, true. Stephen, I want you to talk about your father a little bit because I think he's just a
He's the
dynamic
craziest
man,
man.
man.
He is the ultimate human being, man. My father has taught me how to be a man from such a different perspective. Being a father at 17 and having a father, a 17-year-old dad is like the craziest experience. It's like having a best friend raise you, and then one day, like, you realize, like, oh, this is actually my dad. Okay, this is why I'm getting my ass whooped. All right. But at the same token, our relationship is so dynamic because I got to watch him fail. And it
Mm,
helped me learn how to be a man from such a different pace. As I watched a 17-year-old single father fail at being that, then I watched you fail at a first marriage, and
mm-hmm.
then I find you successful in your second marriage. But through
Okay.
those failures, you get to watch the ups and downs, the highs and lows of a man. And as
Mm-hmm.
a kid, you don't understand it. But as I am a man and I'm coming into the ages that he was, I look back and I laugh. But oh, that's my guy, man. And secretly, we hate each other, but we love each other the same way. We're just Tauruses. We're two Tauruses. We can't sit in the same room for too long. But
Oh, man. Oh, man.
that's my guy. Anytime I got real problems, it don't matter what's going on. We'll put our stuff to the side. I know I got you. You got me. And it taught me how to be a father when I'm ready to be a father. Like,
Mm-hmm.
seeing how my dad wasn't not prepared, but
Mm-hmm.
didn't have the blessings that I'm afforded with. Like, I'm 32 and no kids. Like, but I've always wanted to have a family. I want me and my wife to look at each other and be like, we ain't got nothing else to do. I had these kids. We travel all the time. We do everything that we were supposed to do. You did all your individual stuff. I did all my individual stuff. And we
Right.
can come together and now have these kids, which has always been my goal.
Right.
But I'm in a place where, like, that thing that I dreamt of when I was a kid from
Mm-hmm.
not seeing, I can make a reality because I saw my dad complete that, like, section of his life.
Yes.
So
yes.
for me, it was like full circle. So it's always like, damn, if he could have did it differently with my mom, awesome. But because he didn't, I got to see it, like, blow up, be rebuilt, blow up again.
Mm-hmm.
I got 5 brothers. My dad got 2 wives. My mom has 4 boys. There's like 8 boys, 1 girl.
Wow.
And you witnessed his failure, but he got up again.
Every time.
And that's the other thing.
My dad got a GED and makes 6 figures.
Like you said, you own it, you accept it, you get out of your comfort zone and you live. And, don't be afraid to be vulnerable because,
Mm-hmm.
There's strength in vulnerability.
Right.
You learn from being
Brene
vulnerable
Brown.
or failing. And, a really good friend said to me, you're accountable to know and accept yourself.
True.
You can't live life, trying to please everyone else. You have to be accountable to yourself and just live the best version that you can so that when you look forward, you look ahead, 5-10 years from now,
Mm-hmm.
you want to be proud of that person that you're looking back and you see there. So it's
Right.
accountability, being vulnerable
Right.
and just being the best version of you to yourself.
So, Tayo, I want to hear about the Nigerian daddy because I know a Nigerian daddy is not an easy daddy. You understand? So I need to hear about this. True. Oi, hey, hey. True. Mm. I know. Mm-hmm. Yep. Lynchburg, Virginia. I don't want to stop there. Yeah, I know it well.
Keep driving.
Mm. Mhm. Mm. Mm. Mm-hmm. Right.
Sure.
Mm. Right.
It's a process, Taya. Your failures make you stronger, and they teach you lessons. And if you're cognizant or aware enough that when you do fail, instead of getting upset and pointing a finger and blaming, you step back and you look at it and you go, okay, where did I come up short?
Right.
Uh, what can I do to be better at the points where I did fail?
True. True. True.
And that's very important. And it's just not for men. I mean, I know we're focused on the mind of a man, but you know, you have it's getting out of your comfort zone. So when you fail, you're definitely out of your comfort zone. So a person who allows themselves to, experience that failure and take a lesson from it, and then okay, I know what happened here, so
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to work harder on this part.
Right.
You're learning, and that gives you growth, and being able to grow is always a positive thing.
True. 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 I think for me, listening, I'm like, oh my gosh, I screwed up on my sons. Holy crap.
Oh wow, your
Like
son's.
I need a redo, man. I think, when we look at foundational, just the foundation of where we come from. And, Tayo, one of the things that you said is that, in Nigeria and in the Caribbean too, is like, don't make me look bad. Like I used to tell my kids, I can honestly raise my hand and say, oh, yeah, I tell, all six of my kids, because I have six of them. First rule of my house is don't make me look bad. Don't make me look bad. Do whatever you do, don't make me look bad because a problem if you make me look bad.
But then, like Tayo said, that puts pressure. That puts pressure on them.
True.
In all aspects. I mean, they could, be walking down the street and, you know, walking down the street and your neighbors. For example, I don't know how your son's dressed or anything like that, but if they're sagging,
Oh no, they no.
somebody would
Don't make
say,
me look
"Hey
bad.
Tony, I just saw, so and so.
Listen,
His
all
pants are down around his knees.
no,
You know.
listen. They know me in my neighborhood and they know all of my sons. Even the police officer was like, you know what, you have some very respectful sons, Miss Johnson. And I said, you can butt them up because I don't play that in my household. Don't make me look bad. And what I'm realizing, just by listening to your stories is that, sometimes as mothers, as single mothers, and my children have their fathers. They have their fathers in their lives. And but I think that as women, that's why this program is so important to really have these conversations, because like your father was putting all this pressure and now it manifests in different ways. Tayo, thank God that you are able to really recognize these things, and you talk a lot about these things on a corporate level in your book. I think it's fascinating, yes. And so I think that it's really important that we understand that we got to be able to be vulnerable. I love Brene Brown. I freaking love her. I freaking love her, man. Here I come, Brene. I'm coming for you, man. Yeah, she is the bomb when she started talking about vulnerability, because with this masculinity thing, it's about being vulnerable. If you can't be vulnerable, we saw vulnerability when it's like the world stopped last Sunday. I was literally outside this studio last Sunday when I heard the news. And I was just like, wow. And I turn on the TV and I see King James just sobbing. And I'm like, what's happening here? What's happening?
It was real. It's real. It's real. But there's also like a facet to me. So, this is why I love my dad, because he's a little crazy. And my grandmother's funeral, he don't like crying. Like my dad, we would again, toxic masculinity is something super toxic that he did, but it also is one of those things through like understanding it later.
Mm-hmm.
It helped me process death differently. My grandma passed away. We're at the funeral. I'm crying.
Mm-hmm.
And my dad taps me like, "Yo, stop crying." Wow, it's the music. Because he plays the piano.
Okay,
He's an organist and a pianist, so he understands the concept of like how music taps into emotions,
Right.
And he'd be like, "Dude, stop crying. It's just the music." And then once I was able to take away the music from it, like, of course, he was like, "Dude, you have the greatest grandmother ever. Like, just think about all the good stuff that you did with her."
Right.
And once you stop and think about like all those good moments, and I think I'm thankful that I had a father kind of guide me through something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But then I watch it with Kobe, and I also see like, oh shit, I had a father who guided me through that. A lot of men haven't had someone in their life to like, and again, I don't think that moment is how he should have handled that, but it taught me in that moment, like, oh, there's other ways to process this. We all get to cope, we all get to process, we all get to do our thing.
Interesting.
But I hate to see people get so shocked by brown. I think the image of a brown man crying is such a weird thing to everyone.
It is.
That it's not shocking me as much, because I've had to cry. I've seen my dad cry. I've seen certain things in his life that is real. I'm from North. I've seen a lot of men cry. So for me, to see somebody so great die, I've seen everything Kobe Bryant. As a Philadelphian, I've seen everything Kobe Bryant has had to achieve. Right. I didn't like Kobe Bryant for a period of time because of what he did to the city. He took a championship away from us. But I also saw one of the greatest players to ever live dominate and tell other men how to be the greatest.
Right.
So for me, I'm always going to celebrate that life.
Did you feel like your father was suppressing you when he told you not to cry? I mean, I understand, thinking about your grandmother and all the positive things and the times and the thoughts you had of her, but did you feel like he was suppressing you? When
I
he
feel
told
like
you not
in
to
that
cry?
moment, yeah, but I also understand now later that the father's job is he's protecting. His mother died, and he has to hold everything down.
Okay.
And I understand where he was, the seat he was sitting in at the time. You got family, death. My grandma died with money and all this stuff. It's a whole lot of everything is battling. If I can get my oldest son not to cry and to understand like the dynamic of what's really happening, because I'm his best friend, I'm his buddy, I'm his confidant. I understand why he would tell me like, yo, this is what it is.
Given that, and the fact that he was your best friend, he was your buddy, why wouldn't he allow you to be vulnerable?
Again, I had to learn how to be vulnerable later. Like that was a
Exactly.
lesson for me to learn after 18. But at 17,
Okay.
18, that wasn't the lesson in and of itself. And I think we've had that conversation. Me and my dad talk like men, like heart to
Right,
heart.
right.
Dad, I have this issue with you, and he might not like it or whatever. But as a man, he's always taught me, and I've always been allowed to express. People, if you know me, you know I'm coming. I've got something to say to you. I'm coming at you. You ain't got to worry about me.
Okay.
I've been on this
That's
street
chefdom, man. That's
every day.
chefdom. That's just all chefdom right
Everything,
there.
all day. I work at the Union League of Philadelphia, so I've had to navigate with the 1% and allow them not to disrespect me at the same time because I'm a black man and I will kill everybody in here at the end of the day.
No, you will not.
Not like it, but
Okay.
in that
No, you will not.
environment and in that mindset, you have to like.
I
'cause you
came to,
represent-
yeah,
I
came,
represent myself.
yeah, exactly.
I am Stephen Parr's son. I am not here to embarrass you or my mom
Right.
or nobody. So at the end of the day, I have to carry myself in that moment. And I've had friends who have died after that.
Mhm.
And I've had to keep myself together. And I have to go back to that moment of like, damn, okay.
But why though?
Because I needed to tell my friend's grandmom that he just died. But I couldn't cry at that moment because I'm like, damn, get your shit together. Cry in the house for a second. But you got to tell
Be strong for
be
someone
strong,
else. So
be
you
present
understand. This is
and,
where we're just getting to the root of it. Like
Yeah.
it's like
Yeah,
you're,
Tony, but it's and that's where it goes back to that stigma.
right.
You know, in
Yeah.
years ago, be strong for somebody else, but what about you?
You
at that point?
exactly.
And I'm sure you were an absolute mess inside.
Yeah and no. Because she had diabetes. So for me, it was also like,
Well, yeah, I mean, you
There
know
are
it's coming
layers
and you're
and levels.
prepared, but still.
no.
I mean, I can
Yeah.
remember when and I'm getting ready to just pull at everybody's heartstrings here.
No, please.
In the
Please.
span of 10 years, from the time I was 12 years old until I reached 22, I lost 4 people in my life.
Mm,
First it was my grandmother. 3
Mhm.
months later, my mother passed.
mhm.
My grandfather, who just lost his wife and his daughter.
Mhm.
Imagine what he must have felt like.
Right.
I lost him 5 years later. And then my
Mm.
uncle took up the mantle for the next 4 years.
Mhm.
So I think I cried when my grandmother died because it was the first time I experienced death. Like, what's this? I don't know what this
Right.
is all about. And then my mother, who I loved to death.
Right.
I honestly think I didn't cry. I'm sorry, because I saw everybody else around me
True.
crying, and I'm like, okay, I have to comfort them. I have to be strong for them. I can't break down because everybody else is falling apart.
Mhm.
And then, the subsequent deaths after that, I just emotionally shut down. And
Mm.
it affected me in my adult life, even today. Like I said, a failed marriage because I was emotionally unavailable. I was told all the time, Ruben, you got to stop pushing it down. You have to let it out. You got to talk about it. With my kids, my
Right,
son
right.
told me a few weeks ago, Dad, you're too uptight.
Wow.
And that shocked the hell out of me. My
Right.
daughter came to me one time and said something to me. And I thought to myself, and this is recent,
Mhm.
within the past year, you know
Mhm.
what? I got to get myself together here. I got to be able to explore my feelings. I got to be able to be vulnerable and let
Right.
my feelings out and deal with those feelings so that I'm a better father and a better example for them. So
Right.
I understand him telling you not to cry and to be strong, but at the same time, that's where you lose yourself because you're not allowing yourself to become vulnerable and be in that moment with the feelings, deal with it, and then move on.
I understand. No, I think that is something as I got older, I've definitely, and we've had those conversations where we talk about that moment. So, like, and we did mushrooms. So, me and my dad did mushrooms one time for his birthday, and we just got some shit out. It was the best. It was at
You
the
are
house.
such
We
a
was at.
chef.
We did
You're such a
mushrooms
chef.
and by the fireplace. It was
Chef.
a good day, but we also had that emotional connection and like that understanding and that presence of like, yo, it's human. He did the best. And this is what I take away from all my mushroom trips in general. We are all doing the best that we can. Every human being on this planet Earth is genuinely trying the absolute hardest they possibly can.
True. I
And
believe
if you
that.
respect every human person at that point, what else can I accept? I'm on my journey just like you're on his journey. At
Sure.
that point in time in his life, at what, 24, 25, what was he? 32 probably. And his mom just died. He handled that version of that situation
Mhm.
the best he possibly could.
So I want to wrap this up because I know that I want to always be, aware of our time because everybody, I always tell people there's two things you can't get back in life, your time or your energy, man. And so, we just started this conversation. Tayo, I want you to know that I appreciate you and I want everyone to know that as told by Nomads, Tayo has his own podcast, and I want you to drop by and listen to him because he has some dynamic people that drops in on his podcast as well. So I want you guys to, leave any parting words as if one piece of advice we could give to someone who's listening. Where's one piece of advice? You got 10 seconds. What would be one piece of advice?
One piece of advice would be get out of your comfort zone.
Yes.
Be vulnerable.
Yes.
Learn from your mistakes. Do not stagnate. And like my sister would say, keep it moving.
Yes. Oh, true, true. Thank you. Thank you, Tayo. Again, I want everybody to tune into his podcast as told by Nomads. Please tell them where they can find your podcast, Tayo, because I definitely want them to drop in. Yeah. Oh, get the book. I got the book. Look, he got the book. We got the book. We're showing the book, man. Instagram Live sees the book. My uncle over in England. I have an uncle that lives in England. His name is Uncle One Shot. That's why we call him Uncle One Shot, man. I know he wants me to add him. Uncle, I love you. I will definitely add you. I can't add you this podcast, but I definitely will add you because I want Stephen to give us one word of advice. Excuse me, I'm trying to get over this cold, man. This flu is going around, man. And just one word of advice because, I'm loving all of this, man.
For me, find mentors greater than yourself. You build something from scratch. You cook something from scratch, and pray and meditate every day. Those are my goals.
Yes, yes, I appreciate it. Yeah, I appreciate it. You know what, guys? Mind of a Man is all about really having conversation, really just getting to the root of things and really trying to change the paradigm. And if we don't have these conversations, how do we change society? If so, Tayo, here in Philadelphia, you can ride down any street in North Philly, South Philly, West Philly, any time of the day, and you'll see a beer distributor and you'll see a whole bunch of men, white, black, Asian, whatever they are, whatever race they are, it doesn't matter. And it seems like they've lost hope. And I want to give men hope. If you give people hope, they have life. From you have life, you have hope. And so that's the purpose of this. And I want to make sure that, we continue the conversation next week, man. And, I appreciate everyone. Ruben Tiger Wesley, he is the network engineer. I am so thankful for you. My chef, who is over here doing mushrooms, man. I am so thankful for you. And, Tayo, where's the book again? The book, and Ruben has the book. It is use your difference to make a difference, man. If we just do that, man, we've made the world a better place. So, guys, I want you to thank you so much for joining me today, and I will see you on the flip side. You have a great, great rest of the week and be productive. Have a great one, guys. Bye. All right. Thanks, Tayo. Have a great one. All right. Bye-bye. My uncle is going to kill me.
First of all, why he gonna tell me?
Move up! If that even move up! Uncle One Shot said, move up, Ursula!
He said, stop it. I'm like, I just responded to him. I said, I'm the reason that you saw your message. I'm trying to I shared it with her. So
Because I couldn't
so
add
you couldn't
him.
address- I know because it wasn't your phone, but that's why.
No, this is my phone.
No, but it was turned that way.
No, yeah, because I couldn't. No, what happens is I could not. Let me stop this stream.